So today I'm going to be doing a video discussing 4th generation Dragon Slayers. Now, when it comes to Dragon Slayers in Fairy Tail, we know that our main character, Natsu Dragneel, he is a Dragon Slayer, so we already know that they're very important. And before anybody says it and comes out here and says, no, Natsu's not the main character and Lucy's the main character, the story revolves, shut up, just shut up. They both are main characters. Natsu and Lucy, they both are the main characters. Okay, you guys have heard me say that a million times, but no matter how many times I say it, it's like there's always somebody that just pops up and says, no, this person main character, that person main character. And now that I just addressed it, I'm pretty sure there's gonna be some people who say it just to troll me, but to be honest, I really just see them both as being the main character. But like I said, Natsu, our main character, one of the two main characters, is a Dragon Slayer. And out of the main cast, and when I say main cast, I'm talking about the people like Natsu, Lucy, Urza, Gray, Wendy, Gagio. Maybe you can throw in Juvia and Laxus, you know, maybe that's a maybe, but for the sake of this video, I'm gonna throw them in there. So out of the main cast, out of those people who I just named, 4 out of those 8, and well, 3 out of those 8, I'm not gonna include Natsu because I just say Natsu, but 3 out of those 8, Gagio, Wendy, and Laxus, they are all Dragon Slayers. So that's even more reason why Dragon Slayers are going to be super important, because if you look at it like that, 4 out of the 8 people in the main cast that I consider being the main cast are basically Dragon Slayer. That's half of them. And then not to mention even Acnologia. Yes, we know that he will be a final villain in Fairy Tail, whether he's the last villain, like the last special they take out, or whether he's the second to last, depending on where Zeref comes in to play, because we know that Zeref right now, Alvarez Empire War. Me personally, I think that Zeref is going to be taken out and then Acnologia, or maybe even between God Anksaram. Now, this is like a slight chance if God Anksaram's even in the story, but if he does come to the story, I imagine that Acnologia would have to be taken out first, like between, I think that if God Anksaram does come to the story as a villain, it will have to be Acnologia, Zeref, and then God Anksaram gets taken out, because I would imagine that Zeref would join in the fight versus God Anksaram, but they would need Acnologia out of the way. So I don't know, but regardless, we can say that Acnologia, he's going to be one of the major villains in the end, and he also is a Dragon Slayer. So that's even more proof on how important Dragon Slayers are. And I know at this point some of you guys might be thinking, well, yeah, that's obvious, but one of the biggest things that I love about Dragon Slayer is their classing. Now, I love the fact that they split up each Dragon Slayer into like their own little separate generation, and I think that's dope, because that's something that we haven't really seen before with series. Like, I'm not trying to bash or anything, but like, you know, like a series, like, yeah, all of them would just be like grouped up together, like some other series with other, like, I guess you call them different type of ability use, they'll all be put in like one category. But I like how they have different generations. Like, for example, the 1st generation Dragon Slayer, we know that they basically got that title because they actually were born, or not born with, but they're actually raised by their dragons and taught Dragon Slayer magic by an actual dragon that actually came there and took time out of their day to teach them, which I find that dope. And we know that the main 1st generation Dragon Slayers are Natsu, Wendy, and Gagio, and for a long time those were really the main Dragon Slayers throughout the series, because 1, they all were 1st generation Dragon Slayers, 2, they're all in Fairy Tail, and 3, we all saw most of their past the most. For example, we seen Igneel training Natsu, him taking him up on the mountains, teaching him how to use Fire Dragon's Roar. You know, when Igneel was shooting out the big flame and then Natsu shot some little tiny ass flame. That was funny, but I really like seeing the interaction between the dragons and the Dragon Slayers. Gagio and Metallicana, we see Metallicana over there roasting Gagio, telling him, nigga, you still got that smug look on your face, like everything. And we even see stuff like Grandini and Wendy. Grandini, we see her showing Wendy so much love and everything. So we know that the dragons who actually did train the humans, they actually, it wasn't like it was like a forced thing, because they actually do seem like that they cared about each and every of the Dragon Slayers. Well, excluding Metallicana, because we don't know how his feelings are. But no, in all seriousness, we do know that the first generation Dragon Slayers, they are by far probably the most, I guess you say that they're the most talented, or at least, or they have the most potential, because they can use stuff like natural Dragon Force and a whole bunch of other things that other generations can't use. So yeah, first generation Dragon Slayers, they are definitely not a joke. And then we move on to second generation Dragon Slayers. Now, when it comes to the second generation Dragon Slayers, this one is a little bit controversial for some people, because a lot of people, they like to see them as fake Dragon Slayers, or they're not real Dragon Slayers, simply because they don't have dragons. Matter of fact, they weren't even taught Dragon Slayer magic. They were basically just given a lacrima that was placed inside their body, and therefore they developed Dragon Slayer magic. And basically, we know there are three second generation Dragon Slayers: Cobra, Laxus, and spoiler alert, God Serena. Now, with that being said, me personally, I don't think that they're fake Dragon Slayers or anything. I'm not one of the people who look down on the second generation Dragon Slayers just because they don't have actual dragons. Like, don't get me wrong, I think it would be dope if they did have dragons, but I'm not gonna say that they suck because, or I'm not gonna like bash them for being second generation Dragon Slayers, because Cobra, even though he's kind of fallen off a bit, he's still like dope. Like, out of the whole Erasean Sayers or Crime Sorcerer, he's still one of my top favorite characters. He's probably like my second favorite, right behind Jalal. Cobra, he's still dope. He had a beast moment in Tardos, him when he was basically in prison and everything. That was cool. Don't even get me started on Laxus. Laxus is like he's just a beast. Like, he's dope all around, you know, the character development, his ability, everything. Like, Laxus is just a go all around. I don't even have to explain why I like him. And then God Serena, I'm not gonna say too much about him because I know that there's a lot of anime onlys and I don't want to spoil them on that God Serena epicness, but let's just say that his personality, I love his personality a lot. He's one of my favorite Spring and 12 members. Like, he's just dope, and I really can't wait till we get to see, well, I can't wait till we get to see him animated. I'm not gonna go too deep into it, but yeah, you guys know the whole deal about God Serena and the second generation Dragon Slayers. A lot of people don't like them because of like the lacrima, but hey, I said fuck it, I still like them a lot. And then we move on to the third generation Dragon Slayers. And this one, yeah, you can say that people don't like the third generation Dragon Slayers just because who's in them. And that is only Sting and Rogue. And basically, these guys, they got the lacrima placed inside them, and they're also taught by dragons. That's why I kind of didn't want to say that the first generation Dragon Slayers were the only people who were taught by dragons, because we know that Sting and Rogue, they were taught by dragons, and yet they're not first generation. And me personally, when this was first introduced, this made Sting and Rogue look very OP because they had the teachings of the dragons, so that was already one thing. But to have a lacrima placed inside them, it seems a little bit too over, like it seems like it's overkill at that point, because they basically have like double the Dragon Slayer magic. And we know the whole thing between Sting and Rogue, how when they met their, well, when they quote unquote killed their dragons, I'm using parentheses, but obviously you guys won't be able to see that because of like camera's not on, but yeah. Basically, Sting and Rogue, they thought they had killed their dragons, and the dragons end up really just going inside them, end up tampering with their memories, thinking they killed them. And that was basically one of the biggest things that Sting and Rogue always bragged about. They'll be going around, yeah, we killed our dragons, yeah, we killed our dragons, all this stuff. And we're like, yeah, we know that they really didn't kill their dragons, so let's just move on from that. So yeah, that was a funny thing that happened between them, because they're just talking so much shit, but in reality, they didn't really kill them. And we know that they didn't even, I don't want to say that, yeah, basically they didn't want to kill them, because we saw that when they met them in the Tardos arc, they still had a lot of feelings towards them. So yeah, Sting and Rogue, as of now, they're the only third generation Dragsters that we know of. And me personally, I don't see that changing anytime soon, because I don't really see there being enough time in the series, or even like, I don't know, I just don't see them introduce anybody else that'll be the third generation Drag Slayer along with them. Now, at this point in the video, you guys might be thinking, okay, what the hell? What is about this fourth generation Drag Slayer? Underrated Mage, can you please just reveal to us the fourth generation Dragon Slayer? Well, this one is kind of tricky, because me personally, here's what I say. This could either be called the fourth generation Dragon Slayer because it'll be the next number, or it could be called the Z. See, there's no number, there's no way how to pronounce zero like with a th at the end, or like you know what I'm talking about. But I'd rather call them the fourth generation Dragon Slayer, and these will be the people like Acnologia. Now, as we all know, Acnologia, he is a Dragon Slayer, but the thing about him, and this is a little bit of a spoiler, anime onlys, if you guys want, you don't have to watch the rest of this video because it's going to be diving heavy into spoilers. But if you guys want to keep watching, just say fuck it, I want to learn more about Fairy Tail, then hey, be my guest, go ahead and keep on watching. But we basically found out that Acnologia, he is a human that can turn into a dragon, and he basically didn't have his dragon to create antibodies for him, therefore he ended up becoming a dragon. And we also saw the same thing with Elaine, Urza's mother. We know that she didn't have somebody to prevent the dragon seed from actually taking over, therefore she became a dragon, and she became a person who was able to go back and forth between being able to transform into a human and into a dragon. And that is why I would classify these people, Elaine and Acnologia, as fourth generation or zero generation Dragon Slayers. I don't know if anybody has a word for the letter zero that'll sound good. Leave in the comment section because I'm getting kind of bad. I can't think of one. But no, on a serious note, the reason why I can't put these two in the same category as any of the other Dragon Slayers is because this is something completely that we've never seen before. Like, we've seen it with Acnologia, but we just can't classify it as the same because the first generation Dragon Slayers, they had the dragon seed, so therefore, or they had the dragons go inside them to prevent the dragon seed, so therefore they were good. Second generation Dragon Slayers, they don't even have dragons to begin with, so that's just nowhere to be. That's not even a problem. And then the third generation Dragon Slayers, they've also had the dragons go inside of them and stop the dragon seed from being activated. But with these two, they didn't have the dragons to go inside them and stop the dragon seed. Hell, Elaine didn't even know that was possible. She got mad at Wendy for having it. She was like, why does this bitch why is she not gonna be able to turn into a dragon? She should suffer just like me. And on top of that, we even see that these guys, they weren't even taught, well, from what we know so far, they weren't necessarily taught by dragons. We saw that Elaine, she kind of developed Dragon Slayer magic on her own. Maybe Belzerian, I don't know how to pronounce the dragon name, you guys already know that, but maybe that dragon, he taught Elaine Dragon Slayer magic. We don't know. And Acnologia, on the other hand, we don't even know if he learned it from somebody. Maybe he was in the same boat as Elaine and he just like learned it by himself, or he just studied the dragons or something and basically came up with it. But as of yet, we don't know if they do have dragons that could be able to prevent it, but we do know that the dragons didn't prevent it, and therefore they're able to turn into dragons. And that's why I call them fourth generation Dragon Slayers, because this is something new. This is something that we haven't seen before, and I think that it's dope. Comment what you guys seen down below. Subscribe if you haven't. Peace out.